Today I am going to deliver lecture on welding symbol. Last class we have seen that what are the different parts of a welding joints, and we have seen different important operation, and we have seen also different important application of different part of welding symbol. We have also seen that what is the importance of welding symbol in welding industry. Today I will deliver a lecture on welding symbol. Actually, this welding symbol is very much essential part once you will be in industry. There you will be given generally a drawing sheet. To see this drawing sheet itself, you have to understand what are the different welding operation is required to do. So, for once you have knowledge on welding symbol, then only you will be able to, because in this drawing there will be provided only some symbols of welding. To see this welding symbol itself, you have to recognize what you have to do. So, it is a very important parameter, and it is a very important thing for a manufacturing industry to know about welding symbol. Here generally this is the content of this present lecture. Here I will explain generalized welding symbol first, then different examples of welding symbols, and different application of welding symbols also I will show, and some important notes also here I will provide regarding welding symbol, and I will explain at the end what will be the next lecture plan. This is generally represent the welding symbol. Actually here generally this is a generalized welding symbol. Here I am showing one thing you can say is this line, whatever the line here it is showing, that is from this arrow line, actually from here to here, this line, actually this line, whatever the line it is showing, this line generally called the reference line. Generally in this reference line, generally this is the reference line which is generally main requirement for a welding symbol. So, in this reference line there is two side, one is bottom side and another is top side. This bottom side one is called arrow side, and this top side of this reference line is called far side. Now, generally whatever the different things will be given bottom of this reference line, that is generally the details of arrow side, and whatever the things given top of this reference line, that is the details of far side. Now, here we should know what is arrow side and what is far side. Actually, arrow side means this is a plate where we have to do the welding. So, what happens here, here the arrow is generally facing top, this is top side, and this is bottom side of this plate. So, here generally this arrow is facing on top side. So, that is why this is called generally arrow side, this top side is called here arrow side. Whereas the bottom side here generally opposite to this arrow side is called generally far side. Opposite to this arrow side is called far side. So, whatever the information will be given, top side, bottom side of this reference line, that will be the details of arrow side, and whatever the information given on other side, that means top side of this reference line, that is the details about the far side details. Here we are interested to do a welding where we have to do welding on both sides. Top side we have to do some welding operation here, and bottom side also we have to do some welding operation. So, detail about this top side will be given generally below this reference line, and detail about this bottom side or far side will be given generally above this reference line. Generally in this reference line, here generally the main element in a welding symbol are these terms D, L and P. This is the main element of a welding symbol. Here generally d is the depth of a weld. Generally for a butt welding, this depth is considered as the thickness of the plate. This d is generally considered. This is a generalized weld symbol. Detail about this welding symbol also I will explain gradually in subsequent slides. So here generally this d is called depth of weld. In case of butt weld, this is the plate thickness. In this middle region, generally here the detail about welding geometry will be given. What is welding geometry, that also I will show in subsequent slides. And what is L? Here generally L is the length of weld, that means how much length of weld we are doing, and P is the called piece of weld. Piece of weld means this is a plate where we have to do some welding. Let's here we are doing some welding, after that we make a gap, and here after that here another welding we have done. So what happened, piece of welding means center of this weld to center of this weld. So the distance between these two center position of this weld is called piece of the weld. So this is generally represent piece. Where L? L is the this length of individual portion of the weld. This is generally length of the weld. Now here generally there is given some field symbol also. Here this is generally field symbol. Field symbol generally provided once we are going to install the welding welding techniques in industry. There generally this field symbol is required to use, and sometimes we provided in this reference line some sort of circle in this field symbol region, that is this types of circle also sometimes we provide. This circle generally provide once the starting position of weld and finishing position of the weld is same. Generally especially for pipe welding, that means around the pipe, generally once we do the welding, it start from a location and it's return back to after completion of weld in same location. That's why in case of pipe welding generally this weld all around symbol is required to use. Now sometimes also we will see generally that in this weld sometimes also we use some tail in this reference line. This tail is called the tail of reference line. Generally inside this tail generally we provide the specification, process or other reference. Like what happens if some welding we will do by submerged arc welding. Let's we are doing some welding by submerged arc welding. Let's some sort of operation we have to do, GSTM some operation let's we have to do. So these are all reference, that means what types of welding we are going to use, and let's we have also used some specification of a specified electrode. So all the details will be given generally in this tail region, that means what types of welding procedure, submerged arc welding, like GSTM, some sort of specification, on some sort of specification and other things we have to provide, that things we have to provide in this tail region. Once there will not be any specification or any types of reference, then we need not to apply this, that means we can avoid this tail region, that means we can eliminate this tail region. Now we will see what are the different welding geometry, welding geometry part in this region. That we will see, just I will show you that things in next slide. Here this is a welding symbol, this is a reference line. Generally in this middle region, generally all the specification or all the details of joint geometry is provided. Like generally here, generally it is represented, you can say it is represented like this, a F, A and R, and after this F there is generally used a line, or this line can be other type also, that I will show in details. Generally here FAR is provided. What is F represent? Here F represent the finish of weld, that means finish of weld, or generally this F is represent finish symbol. This F represent, because first we have to provide the finish symbol of weld, F represent. What is A? This line, this after after F generally we provided the horizontal line, or sometime this can be concave line, or this can be this can be convex line or this can be concave line. So, this can be a horizontal line, this can be a convex line, convex contour, or this can be a concave contour also. This second part of this well represent the generally this is the represent the contour of weld. Contour of weld. What does it mean? Means once we do the welding, we are doing some butt welding. In this butt welding, if the contour, this contour of the weld can be sometimes, let the contour of the weld, become this. So, here what types of contour we got at top side? We got a generally convex type shape. So, what happened in this case? We have to provide generally this convex contour of the weld, if the weld is like this. Sometimes generally we can get a weld which can be concave type also. Let us we get a sometime it is required to have some weld contour which can be sometimes this types of shape, that means its shape can be this types also. Then we have to provide generally this concave shape, this types. Once it is this types of this is generally concave contour of the weld, concave weld shape, actually concave shape of weld. This is generally convex shape of the weld. Here the shape of the weld is convex in nature. Here generally that is why this contour shape is look like this. Here generally contour shape is look like this. Once this shape of is flat, that means it generally if it is flat in nature, then generally there is straight line is required to use. Okay. And then generally this R is another important aspect here. This R A is called, this A is called angle of S preparation. This is called angle of S preparation. S preparation. Or you can say this is generally called groove angle. A is called groove angle of S preparation. So, it generally depends, generally what happens here, what should be the S preparation angle, that is generally given after this contour of weld. After this contour of weld, generally this angle of S preparation is required to put. And this R part represent, root opening of the weld, that means root opening of the joint. R represent the root opening of the joint. So, generally this joint geometry detail generally provide in this way. So, if first part of this, if in a symbol the first part, if all this parameter if it will be given, generally this first part represent the finish symbol. Second part represent contour symbol, that means second part this horizontal line, concave or convex symbol, generally represent the contour of weld symbol. And this A represent the angle of S preparation, that means group angle of S preparation, and R represent the root opening part of this of a weld joint. So, if these things is given top of this reference line, generally this we have this information will be provided, this information generally will be provided. If it is generally given top side of this thing, then what happens, this all the things will be in far side, that means let's here this is a, here we have to do the welding, then here let's arrow is provided. So, arrow side, this side is called generally arrow side. So, arrow side details will be given generally bottom of this reference line, So, whatever the things will be given top side of this reference line, that we have to do generally this side of the that means this is generally far side, of the weld. So, generally this is generally the far side of the well. So, here generally this whatever the information will be given, that we have to do in this side, that means bottom side of this welded plate. Now, this if this thing is given bottom side of this reference line, that means if this FAR is given bottom side of this reference line, that means this information we have to provide top side, that means this arrow side, this information we have to provide this arrow side of the weld plate. Now, here some other things also we have seen here. Generally we have seen if the reference, generally what we have also seen, so this is the generally generalized weld symbol and its different component of weld symbol. So, based on this information, generally we can get idea about what we have to do in actual practical application. Now, we will see what are the other important things is available here. Here very other important things also you should know here, that will that I will explain in subsequent slides, as well as here also some other information also I will provide. Here one thing you keep it in mind, generally here what we have seen here, generally D and here generally length of weld and P is given. So, this generally sometimes what happens here, there is a generally tail of this weld. Now, this tail is required to provide on some specification is given. If the specification is not given, then we need not to provide, that means this tail part we can eliminate. Now, let us so a specification if it will be given, then only we can provide, we have to provide this tail. Now, let us, if this tail and arrow, if it shift from this side to this side, let us this tail shift this side and arrow shift this side, then also whatever the element will be there, that means is left side generally of this joint geometry, left side of this joint geometry will be there group of weld symbol, then here will be length of weld symbol and here will be the piece of weld symbol. So, the information, if the arrow is in this side, if that means if this tail and arrow is interchanged, then the element of this weld symbol will not be changed. That means, whatever the welding element of a weld symbol are there, it does not depends on its change of tail and arrow. This information we should know. Now, we will see in details about this, what are the different symbols generally used for different types of edge preparation or welding operation. Like in case of butt welding, generally here the symbol of this butt welding is like two parallel line. In case of a bevel groove, the weld symbol is look like a bevel shape, that means a bevel types of shape. In case of a V groove, the symbol of weld is look like a V shape. If there is a backing bar or backing strip is required to use to prevent this melt through, generally that cases, generally we our weld, that means for representing this backing symbol is provided like this. This is generally a semicircular types of shape. Now, we will see what is the weld symbol for a fillet weld. Now, for fillet weld also, generally if it is a bevel groove, generally this weld symbol is look like this. This is generally weld symbol for a bevel groove for a fillet weld. Generally, if it is a flare types bevel groove, that means here some flaring is done. In for this case, generally the weld symbol is look like this. That means here also some flare shape is there. This is the flare symbol, that means flare bevel groove symbol. If it is a J weld, that means if it is a J groove weld, then the weld symbol, this J groove symbol generally it's look like J. And if it is a fillet weld, generally in case of fillet weld symbol which is look like a triangular in shape. So, this is generally for fillet welding also, these types of weld symbol generally used. They are here generally what we are doing in case of generally corner joint. In case of corner joint, here generally we are doing butt welding. So, here symbol of the weld will be whatever the symbol generally used for butt weld, similar symbol here also generally is used. If it is a generally bevel groove, in case of a corner joint, if it is a bevel groove, then generally the symbol is also here, generally here a bevel groove is made. So, the symbol of this weld is generally like this, that is like inverted V. Here generally depending upon this shape of the bevel, here the symbol is like this. If it is a generally J groove, generally there we can see the symbol of this weld is like this. Generally this is for this, this is for this, and this symbol is here, these types of S preparation we made. So, that is why the symbol is like this. If it is a V groove for J corner joint, here generally the symbol is like inverted V. Now, we will get different information about weld symbol, like what happens here generally, how the field symbol is represented, a few extra symbol which we should know. Generally for field symbol, generally field symbol represented in a weld symbol by a plug like shape element. Generally these types of shape, if it will be there, plug like shape is there generally, then this is generally called field symbol. This is generally called field symbol. Now, we are interested to do welding all around the like for pipe welding, we are interested to do welding all around. That means the starting point and end point of the weld is same. Then generally this is represented as generally here there will be a weld symbol, and generally in this field symbol region we have to provide a circular types of shape. This is generally called weld all around. Sometimes we can use, already I have told you, that means backing and spacer. If somewhere there will be used backing, then what happens here, generally backing symbol generally provided other side of the weld. That is why for backing symbol we have generally it is represented like this. If it is a spacer, generally then there is a spacer is represented in welding symbol like this. So, this is generally a spacer, this is generally backing of weld. Now, melt through, how it is representing in a welding symbol? If some sort of cases there is melt through is required, in this cases generally this melt through is represented in a welding symbol, generally other side of the joint, generally it is represent far side or other side of the joint. Here I am showing how it is look like. Melt through generally representing in a weld symbol, generally melt through occurs for which side? Melt through means we are doing a butt welding operation. If we do a butt welding operation, so then generally we are doing some butt welding operation here. So, if we do the butt welding, then there are some sort of thing like this, we get a bit shape like this, generally here each of the part we should know. Here we see, here some sort of portion, here this portion, that means in bottom side some extra molten material is come out. This portion generally called as melt through. This is sometimes required, there is some specific range of this melt through height. There is some specific, this is generally required for a strength requirement of a welded joint. So, this melt through also sometimes called as bottom reinforcement. This melt through generally also sometimes called bottom reinforcement. This bottom reinforcement generally have a specific height. So, if it is within this specific height, then this is acceptable. If it is within a acceptable limit of this specific height, then this is good for welding. If it is generally excess, then this is a defect types of thing in case of a welded joint. Defect in the sense, here generally molten material requirement will be more, and what happens, there is a chances of extra weld material requirement in this case. So, generally this melt through generally represents, so this melt through generally this is generally called melt through. This melt through generally have a specific height, let us 8 ace. Now, top of this weld also, you see top of the weld also there is some excess of material, from the surface of the top surface of the weld plate. This excess of material generally is called top reinforcement. top reinforcement. This is generally called top reinforcement. This top reinforcement and bottom reinforcement generally is a required part. Actually, this is a means essential part of a weld joint. So, these are generally required for a strength requirement of a welded joint. So, this is sometimes required. Now, generally this melt through, which is generally the molten material come out from the bottom side of the weld, is called generally melt through. Generally this melt through in case of a weld symbol is specified. Generally it is if this is a arrow, if this is a arrow, so this generally this melt through is occur other side of this arrow, or we can say far side of this arrow. So, melt through generally we have to represent in other side in the sense here generally arrow side is bottom side of this reference line, other side is top side of this reference line, and this melt through generally represented is like this, and we should fill with this is a generally field contour, we should represented and we should represented by field color. Generally this contour, this melt through represented with field contour shape. That means this melt through represented like a convex shape, which is this gap is filled by the this gap should be filled actually. So, this is generally melt through, this is represented melt through. Generally this melt through is specified by a height, which we should put left side of this weld joint. That means here generally this height is we have to put here. Yes, generally this height is put left side of this melt through symbol. This is generally melt through symbol, this filled convex shape, and this melt through height is representing left side of this melt through symbol. Now, the contour of flat, convex and concave I have already explained. In case of generally in a weld symbol, this flat weld symbol means if this top reinforcement is not there, then this is called generally flat weld symbol. This is generally represented by a horizontal line. If it is a convex shape, generally this is represented in the weld symbol like a convex contour. And if it is a concave shape, generally this contour is represented in weld symbol like a concave shape. Here some other welding symbol also we should know. Generally we have already seen that butt weld symbol, how it's look like. Fillet weld symbol also we have seen. In case of fillet weld symbol, generally we have seen it generally represented by a triangular shape. Generally triangular shape. Then what should be the symbol of plug or slot welding? Generally plug or slot welding symbol is represented by a rectangular box. This is generally if it is a plug weld or slot welding, then this plug and slot welding, it is generally used for fillet, it is generally used for lap weld joint. Generally they are these types of weld symbol, that means a rectangular box we should once will be in a welding symbol, there we have to do either plug or slot welding. If it is a spot welding, that means for a spot welding generally it is represented by a circular symbol. If it is a seam welding, that means this D, then generally this welding symbol is represented by a circular shape with two horizontal line. So, this is generally different lot of important symbol. This is generally different weld symbol used in general welding industry or welding technology. Now, we will see different example and different other important parameter of welding symbol. Like here one things we should know, here let us some information let us in a welding symbol, here other side is top side and what arrow side is this. So, for a butt joint what is other side? This other side generally here it is bottom side of the, this is generally other side or bottom side of the weld plate, and this arrow side is generally top side of the, this top side of the weld plate. Now, here generally let this is a symbol is given, which one is here other side and which one is here arrow side. Here arrow side generally arrow side is this side and other side is this side. That means, here whatever the information will be given, this is generally arrow side and this is generally other side. That means other side information, that means whatever the work we have to do, let us here we have to do some bevel angle, here let us we have to do some other bevel angle, the different way the bevel angle. So, whatever the information here will be, that will be given generally this arrow side, and whatever the information will be given here, this will be given generally other side of this weld joint. Now, here in this lap joint, generally which one is other side and which one is arrow side? Arrow side means where the arrow is generally facing. So, here this arrow side is this side, and what is the other side here? Here the other side is generally, this side is called other side, this side is other side, this is arrow side. So, this information we should know. So, in case of bar welding, arrow side, other side we got idea. In case of T welding or fillet welding, generally arrow side or other side, and in case of lap joint also what is arrow side and other side, that information also we got. Now, we will see, so we will do some example actually. Once we do some example of this weld joint, then it will be very clear to us. Let us, this is a welding operation. That in first case, here generally let us in a T joint we did a fillet welding whose leg length is 6, that means 6 mm leg length. Let us. So, let us here this side I am interested to put the welding symbol. So, if this side we will put the welding symbol, then what will be the welding symbol here? So, generally here this side is called, here this side is generally arrow side and this side generally far side. So, far side information generally where we have to put? We have to put top side of the weld joint. So, generally here the welding is done based on this welding symbol, where the welding is done generally other side, that means or far side of this weld joint. So, here generally how the welding symbol will be? Here the welding symbol will be a fillet shape, a fillet welding generally we have done here, whose generally whose leg length generally we have to provide left side of this fillet joint. Generally here leg length is how much? 6. So, the symbol will be, that means once it is given in a weld symbol, the triangular shape and a 6 triangular shape and some number 6 left side of this triangular shape, then by seeing this two symbol itself, we can able to do the welding. What should be the welding operation in we can easily be able to do. So, in this case the welding operation we have to do in other side of the welding, which have a leg length of 6 mm. Let us another example, second example. Here generally both arrow side as well as far side we did the welding operation. So, what should be the welding symbol for this case? Here generally both side we did 6 mm leg length fillet welding. So, here also we have to draw a fillet weld symbol, bottom side also we have to draw a fillet weld symbol. So, top and bottom side we have to do a fillet weld symbol. After that what we have done here? We have done the leg length of both the weld, generally here is 6. So, here is also 6. Now, let us in this case, in third case we did the welding operation where one side is different leg length, 5 mm leg length, that means arrow side generally leg length is 5 mm and other side generally leg length is 10 mm. So, what will be the welding symbol here? Here the welding symbol will be, here generally arrow side means bottom side, this is the arrow side weld symbol. What is the leg length of this thing? This leg length of this thing is 5 mm. So, here we have to put 5. Now, other side also we did a fillet welding, that welding symbol also triangular in nature. And what should be the size of this weld? Generally size of this weld is 10 mm. So, here generally left side of this weld symbol, there we put 10. So, if we see this number and symbol, then what should be the welding operation that we can easily be able to understand from this symbol. Now, here generally fillet welding we did for a this fourth example. Here generally fillet welding is done around the entire structure, like here around the entire structure generally we did a fillet welding. For this region what should be the welding symbol? Here generally first of all, here generally we have to provide the weld all around symbol, because here the welding starting point and end point is same, that means all around the structure we did the welding. So, all around symbol we have to provide. After that we have to provide what? We have to provide generally 5 mm leg length, 5 mm leg length, and this is a fillet weld also. So, generally in this case we have to provide arrow side we have to provide the weld symbol in arrow side, and we have to put the leg length left side of this weld symbol. So, here a fillet welding is done and this leg length is 5 mm it is provided. Now, in this case, in this fifth example, here generally single V, and which is done generally opposite side of the arrow. Here you see, here generally welding is done, this V welding is done other side of the arrow. So, here generally V welding we have done other side of this arrow, that is why what should be the welding symbol here? Here this is generally other side of a, other side is top side of the reference line. So, other side we have to put a V weld symbol. In this case if we put the weld symbol here, in this case if we put the weld symbol here, generally this V group weld symbol will be put generally bottom side, actually bottom side of this reference line. If we put this welding symbol bottom side of this plate, it should be like this. If we put the reference line top side of this weld, or weld symbol will be top side of the reference line. Now, here generally a butt welding is done for a square group. Here you see, here generally a square group is made, there we did a butt welding. So, here generally we have to generally this is done on arrow side, this a square group and welding is done from arrow side. That is why this arrow side generally we have to provide a square weld symbol. This is generally a square weld symbol. This is different example of welding symbol. So, once we just generally in industry only this types of arrow will be provided and some symbol will be provided in a drawing. To see this arrow and its symbol, generally you have to recognize what are the operation you have to perform in actual case. So, once you have idea on welding symbol, then only you will be able to do this thing in practice. Now, we will see different example of this welding operation. Like let us say this is an example of welding operation, where generally this let some sort of welding we have done. This is generally what happens, some sort of welding, after that we provide some gap, and after that again some welding is done, after that again some space we kept, after that again some other welding is done. These types of welding is generally termed as intermittent welding. This generally this is intermittent welding, means it is not a continuous welding. Continuous welding, because if there will not be any gap between these two welds, then this is called generally continuous weld. But here generally a gap is provided in between two welds. This types of welding is called intermittent welding. Now, let us some sort of welding. Here we made this welding length is this each welding length is 3 mm, and length between this center of this weld and center of this weld is 6 mm. So, here the information is given, and generally here what are the fillet size of this weld, generally fillet size of the weld, that means here we did some fillet welding. Actually here how the welding is done, if we see the side view of these things, then we can get what types of welding operation here it is performed. The welding operation here it is performed, which is fillet welding generally. Here we provided both side fillet welding, which is intermittent in nature. This fillet welding have a size is 5 by 9 inch. That means fillet weld size, generally this fillet weld size is specified by its leg length, or sometimes it is generally represented, generally specified by its leg length, generally in a fillet weld. So, let us this fillet weld size is 5 by 9 inch. So, generally the size of weld. So, what are the welding operation here we have to. So, for this case both side of this fillet joint, both side of this T joint, generally we did fillet welding, this side and this side we did the fillet welding. So, what should be the welding symbol here? What should be the welding symbol here? For this case, well, generally here generally this side is this side whatever the welding is done, the other side, that means this is generally arrow side, whatever the welding we did, other side also the same welding is done. So here what should be the welding symbol here? Here generally both side generally first of all we will provide is the welding symbol. What types of welding symbol here it is? It's this welding symbol generally triangular in nature, that means fillet welding. So it is a triangular shape. So both sides generally fillet welding is done. So both sides there will be triangular shape. Now here generally the size of the weld is given. Generally the size of the weld is provided left side of this fillet welding. From the first generalized weld symbol I have explained about in details where should be the weld size and other things that I have already explained. That means D is actually represented as this, D is actually represented as weld size. So this D generally where we have to put? We have to put left side of this weld symbol. So here generally what we have to put? Here we have to put the size of this weld symbol, that is 5 by 9 inch. So this we have to put both top and bottom, because size of the weld both top and bottom is same. So this size we put. Now here generally what we have to put in right side? Generally we have to put L minus P. So length of the weld and piece of the weld. So here length of the weld for each piece of weld length is 3 inch. So here generally this we have to put, first L is 3 inch and P is generally here we have to put, P is how much? P is the distance between center of subsequent two weld. Here the piece length is subsequent to weld distance is 6 inch. So here generally it should be this. So here generally L minus P is, that means L not minus P, L and P value is weld size is 3 inch and piece size is 6 inch. Similarly in bottom side also, that means similarly in arrow side also similar types of welding operation is done. So here also this will be 3 inch and this will be 6 inch. Now this information generally this whatever the drawing here I made, this whatever the symbol here I made, so this information generally will be given in your drawing sheet. To see this information, this and this value, what will be the welding shape, what will be the welding length and what should be the distance between two weld, that we can easily be able to understand, because if we know the welding symbol detail. This is one example. Now we will go for different example. Then let us another example here I am showing. Just here you see both side we did fillet welding, but one weld start from little bit ahead of the bottom side first weld. Let's other side. This is also a type of fillet weld here we made. If we see the side view of this thing, here also we will get generally here we did some fillet welding and here we did some fillet welding, here and here, this side and this side generally we did the fillet welding. But here you see this is generally, here we provided the arrow, here we provided the arrow. So whatever the information will be required for this side, whatever the information will be given for this side, that means this side, this information will be on bottom side of this weld, and this information, that means this other side, whatever the things we did, this information will be given top side of this weld. Here generally top side, the subsequent center line distance between two weld is, here generally subsequent weld distance between two center of two different weld is 12 inch and the weld size of this is 3 inch. This is given. The other side also, this other side is also, the weld length is 3 inch, but the distance between two center, the distance between two center is generally from this center to this center, we can easily be able to calculate also, will be also 12 inch. This center to this center will be 12 inch, because here to here this distance is 6 mm. Similarly from this center to this center will be 6, so total will be 12 inch. Now we see that here both side length of weld and piece of weld is same. So, this length of weld is 3 and piece of weld is also 12. But here one things we can observe here, that one weld start little bit ahead of the other side weld. That is why generally here we should put the weld symbol, generally one is start little bit, so other side is this side. So, generally here other side is this side. So, we see this as this other side weld is started before this first weld, that is why you have to put this weld symbol little bit ahead of this arrow side weld symbol. So, here what will be the parameter here? So, here this weld symbol is both side is fillet symbol and triangular in shape, and here generally we have to put this 3 minus 12, here also we have to put 3 minus 12, not minus, 3 12 top side, this L is 3 and piece is 12, here also 3 dash 12, bottom side also 3 dash 12 we have to put, and left side of this weld symbol, generally here weld symbol size is 3 by 5 inch, this weld symbol size will be, we have to provide left side of this weld symbol. Both the sides generally 3 by 5 inch we have made. So, 3 by 5 inch both top side and bottom side we have to provide. So, what happens? So, we got the idea how to draw a weld symbol if it is subjected to intermittent welding or continuous welding, that idea, and if we know this what should be the size of weld, then we can easily be able to draw the different types of weld symbol, and according to this information we can be able to do what should be the operation we have to perform in actual case, that also we can be able to do. Now, we will see this, already I have told you, generally reinforcement and melt through is represented generally in other side of the weld symbol, which is look like this. This already I have, which is look like convex shapes, field convex shape, and this size of this melt through generally represented, size of the melt through should represent left side of the weld symbol, that means melt through symbol. Here 1 by 6 we have to put left side of this melt through symbol. Now, lot of other information also is seen out. Now, in some cases in industry there can be multiple operation of welding in a single structure. So, there generally let us in a single structure, let us we have to perform in a particular location, let us we have to perform different sequence of operation. Generally, how to represent that sequence of operation? Generally, that sequence of operation is represented, let us in a particular butt welding there is 3 operation is required to do. Let this is a butt weld, here generally we have to do some butt welding or some sequence of welding we have to do here. Generally, how to represent this weld symbol? Generally, this is represented by, if there is 3 operation, generally there will be 3 horizontal lines. This first operation should be closest to the arrow, that means whatever the operation first we have to provide, whatever the operation we have to do, that we have to provide closest to this arrow position. So, similarly generally this second operation, another horizontal line we have to draw, and another operation, whatever the operation we have to do, this we have to put. Then if there will be another operation, then third operation, for that another horizontal line we have to draw, and we have to do the third operation. Like here I have drawn a welding symbol, here which should be first operation, which should be second operation, and which should be third operation. Here this first operation I have already told you, which generally closest to this arrow. So, in closest to this arrow, generally which symbol is there? Closest to this arrow, this symbol is there. So, this is generally will be, this will be your first operation. This will be your first operation. Now, this then what will be the second operation? After that, whatever the horizontal line will be there, this will be the second, and this will be the third operation. Okay. Subsequently, if there is 4 or 5 different types of operation is required for a particular case or for a particular geometry, then there is generally another horizontal line we have to put, and we have to put the detail symbol. Like here generally we did some melt through, then some bevel angle, the bevel welding operation, then some fillet welding operation. Now, we will see an example of this multiple reference line and what will be the welding symbol for a multiple operation of a welding process. What should be the welding symbol for a multiple operation? This is a geometry of multiple welding operation. Here here on side top side generally we did some welding operation which have different joint geometry, and bottom side also we did some operation which have some other joint geometry. Top side it has a bevel angle is 65, here bottom side bevel angle is 60. So, here generally let the first operation is done, at top side, this first weld it is given, and second operation is done bottom side. After that bottom side second operation is done. So, here generally root opening also given. So, how to draw the welding symbol here? In this case, how to draw the welding symbol? So, first operation detail we have to provide where we have to draw a horizontal line here closest to the arrow, generally close to arrow we have to draw a horizontal line. In this horizontal line generally first operation is done where here generally this arrow, what should be the arrow side? This is generally arrow side, and this bottom side is generally far side, or this far side also sometimes called other side. I have already told you other side, arrow side, far side or other side. Now, here generally what should be the welding symbol for these two different welding operations. So, first operation, then first horizontal line I did. So, here generally the detail specification should be given. Bottom side, here generally bevel angle is done in arrow side, this angle is given, generally bevel angle is done in this arrow side given as 65 degree, and it has a root opening of 1/14, because we know there is used, so here generally two information it is given here. So, two information is given here in the sense here generally this FAR. So, first FAR. So, first generally angle is coming, then generally root opening is coming. Here also generally first angle is come, then after that generally this root opening is provided. So, here generally this specification of this welding operation, here generally some specification is given for this welding operation. This is generally a specification of this welding operation. This full form of CJP generally is complete joint performance. This is a term generally used in welding industry, that is CJP, that is called complete joint penetration. So, the specification of first weld is CJP, whereas in second operation the specification is GTSM. Generally some terms used for welding industry is GTSM, generally its full form is Gauss to sound metal. This full form of this thing, Gauss to sound metal. So, if this types of specification will be given, then for that case we have to generally fast welding operation, there is a specification is given. So, there we have to provide the tail. In this tail generally we have to provide this CJP specification. This is the, once we see this thing, then what should be the first operation that we can easily be able to do that. That means there should be 65 degree weld group angle, and there should be 1/14 inch generally root opening. Now, for second operation generally another line we have to draw. Generally second operation is done, here is also some specification is given. So, for this specification generally we have to draw a tail. So, inside this tail we have to provide this specification detail, that means GTSM we have to provide. So, to see this GTSM, welder or welding expert can easily be able to understand what are the things they have to do. Here generally welding is done other side of this arrows, the other side of this arrow. So, here generally the welding symbol will be other side, that means or far side of this arrow. Here also we will generally V group is made. This V group have a generally angle is 60 degree, and root opening is also 1/, here also root opening also 1/14 inch. Okay. So, if this is given in a drawing, then what will be the welding operation we have to perform, that we can easily be able to understand. Here depth of penetration is 3 by 5 inch for generally arrow side, and for other side generally depth of penetration is 2 by 5 inch. Okay, 2 by 5 inch. So, here generally this first operation your depth of penetration is given as 3 by 5 inch. So, here we have to write 3 by 5 inch, and for second operation generally depth of penetration is 2 by 5 inch. So, here generally this is generally this should be generally 2 by 5 inch. So, to see this information itself, what are the welding operation, what are the joint preparation we have to do, and what should be the reference we have to provide here, everything to see this, just to see this information itself we can do the all detailed welding operation if we know the welding symbol in details. Now, some other extra information we should know about welding symbol, like in case of weld symbol, there we will see two different types of reference line generally used. One reference line is straight, another reference line generally broken types of reference line is used. A straight line generally used in welding, this is generally this is a straight arrow, once there is a straight arrow, then this is used generally in direct field, in the field of welding operation. That means, in welding location where we have to do the welding, and in welding location itself we have to provide these types of straight arrow. But broken arrow generally used for joint preparation, this broken arrow generally used for joint preparation, and this broken line break toward the piece that is to be beveled. That means, this broken direction should be in that piece where we have to make the angular preparation, or we have to make the beveling operation. That side generally the broken arrow will go. Now, once we will do some example of this thing, then it will be very clear to you. Here we have to make some S preparation. Here we make a bevel angle of 50 degree. Here generally this depth of this bevel angle is 0.35, and here is a root opening of, there should be a root opening of 1 by 14 inch. How to represent this? How to represent this thing in case of a weld symbol? Here generally let these types of S preparation, we have to do, where we have to make a bevel angle, and depth of bevel we have to make, and we have to make a root opening. So, how to do this thing? So, here generally bevel angle we make, we have to make in wave of this T joint. So, here generally this broken arrow should face on this, in this wave. So, because in this wave we have to make the S preparation. You see this flange generally no S preparation is done. So, that is why here generally this broken arrow I have explained already previously, this broken arrow symbol should be direction towards where we have to do the beveling operation. Generally here we have to do the beveling operation. Now, this beveling operation we have done, generally this is this side of this arrow, this side arrow, this side generally we put the arrow, that is why this is called arrow side, and this is called generally other side or far side. This is generally called other side or far side. So, here generally what we did, here generally did the S preparation in far side, that means this side we did the S preparation. So, this is the reference line. What is far side? Far side means top of this thing, top side of this reference line. So, far side generally what are the things we have to provide here? Here we have to provide a generally bevel S preparation which have a angle of 50 degree and which have a root opening of 1 by 14 inch. So, 50 degree and 1 by 14 inch it is given. Where it is given? It is generally far side. So, that is why we put this S preparation symbol in top side, and S preparation angle and root gap we provide here. And here this depth of the weld, here generally depth of the weld is 0.35. This depth of the weld we have to put here 0.35 in this side. 0.35 inch. We have to provide this side. So, to see this broken arrow symbol, what should be the S preparation we have to do in this wave, that we can easily be able to do. If this information will be given in a well symbol, to see this information, what should be the S preparation we have to perform in this wave, that we can easily be able to do once we know the details of welding symbol. Now, some other information also we should know. Generally, here if the bevel is prepared through the entire thickness of the plate, if the bevel is prepared through the entire thickness of the plate, generally in that case generally, if the bevel generally is made through the thickness of the plate, generally that times the size of the weld, generally size of the bevel we need not to put left side of the weld. Here generally angle is sufficient to put. That is why no measurement of depth is required in a symbol on this beveling operation is performed through the entire thickness of the weld. But if the beveling operation is performed for a particular portion of the thickness of the weld, like here generally only this portion, this much of portion beveling operation is done. So, here generally let this angle of this bevel is, let us 70 degree, let the 70 degree angle. So, here generally we have to provide here the angle as well as depth of the bevel operation. After welding that, whatever the depth of fusion we are getting, that means from here to here, depth of fusion, once we do the welding, some sort of base material also fused or melted, this extra base material. So, for that generally here generally depth of fusion is considered till top of the these two fusion depth. So, this is generally called depth of fusion. So, this is generally sometimes called effective throat measurement. This is also sometimes this depth of fusion also sometimes called effective throat measurement. Generally this effective throat fusion or effective throat measurement generally we have to provide at the parenthesis side of the bevel depth. Generally whatever the weld penetration we are getting, that we have to exact weld penetration or effective weld penetration we are getting, that we have to provide side of the side of this depth of bevel in between a parenthesis, that is like this, that is like so. Here generally effective things is given here. Now, generally some sort of cases we have seen in industry, generally some sort of cases, some operation we perform like surfacing operation or generally hard facing operation we generally used to do to prevent the surfacing and hard facing. Some operation we perform which is subjected to generally corrosion types of effect. For that structure generally some sort of surfacing or hard facing we have to do. Surfacing or hard facing generally is a process by which generally in some low corrosion resistance material, over the surface of low corrosion resistance material, generally we provide some corrosion resistance layer material. That corrosion resistance material can be chromium, nickel, these types of means generally which have a high corrosion resistance, that generally this nickel material generally we provide over the surface of low corrosion resistance material like mild steel or some other material which has generally low corrosion resistance. So, over the because the low corrosion resistance, this mild steel generally have a lower cost, and generally nickel, chromium, these types of material generally have higher cost. That is why if we manufacture a product by only for corrosion resistance by using this what it is called chromium or nickel types of material, nickel, titanium or other types of material, then what happens, this cost of that product will be very high. For that reason, generally to reduce the cost of that product especially, we use some low cost material like mild steel. Over that low cost material generally we provide some sort of high cost material like nickel, titanium or chromium over the surface of this low cost material. Then as the surface is covered this high corrosion resistance material, then this corrosion will be less in this structure. So, its life cycle and other things will be high, and it will be also cost effective. For that reason, generally two different types of operation we generally used to see in industry. One is surfacing, another one is hard facing operation. Generally, this surfacing and hard facing operation also is represented by welding symbol. Let us what happens here, surfacing or hard facing means we have to provide the layer of corrosion resistance material over the low corrosion resistance material by depositing the metal over there. Like this types of deposition, if we see the side of this thing, we get the shape of this weld deposition like this. Now, how to represent these things in a weld symbol, that also we should know. This thing generally represented, this is a weld symbol. Let us top side we did this hard facing, top and bottom side. Let us here top side things we are interested to represent. So, top side how it will be divided, top side here actually here top side is arrow side. So, here generally this two operation, how we can represent these two operations, generally we can represent like this and this. So, because here these two, so here generally these things we provided here, this symbol generally provided by contour, and its height is represented at the left side of the weld symbol. Okay. So, this we can do like this. Now, in case of here, so some other information also here we should know. Generally, this hard facing generally or surfacing generally symbol is represented by weld contour, and its height generally represented left side of this weld contour. As it is done is arrow side, that is why it is provided bottom of this weld reference line. Now, here generally some other information, some extra information, once we will be in industry, there we will see generally some sort of welding operation we have to do before group weld, some sort of welding operation we have to do after group weld. So, based on this thing, there is two different welds generally we can see in industry. One is called back weld, another one is called backing weld. One is called back weld, another one is called backing weld. Generally, a backing weld will be made on opposite side of a groove before the group weld. Generally, backing weld is done opposite side of this, that means this operation first we have to do, after this group welding we have to do. So, this if this group if this other side welding, that means if some welding operation backing weld generally made opposite side of the group, generally this backing weld, if this backing weld, if this weld is done before the group weld, then this is called generally backing weld. If this operation is done after the group weld, that means first of all this group weld is done, after that if this weld is done, this other side welding is done, then that is called back weld. So, always keep it in mind, backing weld is done before the group weld and back weld is done after the group weld. Now, how to represent this backing weld and back weld in a weld symbol, that also we should know. Generally, backing weld and back weld, generally backing weld and back weld is represented, it is generally done other side of this arrow. This backing weld generally represented like this, other side, and generally this backing weld symbol is look like this, and this reference, that means in reference line we have to provide the, we have to write here the whether it is backing or back weld. Here generally we have, as we have done the backing weld, that is why here we have to write in reference line, in reference region or in the tail of this welding symbol as backing weld. Now, for back weld also similar things we have to do. For back weld also, here generally this is backing weld, this side generally group weld we did. So, this is the symbol of this, backing weld. Generally similarly here also the symbol of this backing weld, back weld is similar, except at the tail we have to write as back weld. Now, here one thing you keep it in mind, what is the difference between this back weld and melt through. In case of backing and back weld, this contour is not filled with, that means it is a empty contour, but in case of melt through, there is generally filled contour is there. Okay. Now, This is the last part of this weld symbol, that here generally some sort of cases I have already explained in detail about different welding sequence. If we perform in same side of a welding joint, then what should be the different operation. Let us, for a sequence of generally for a sequence of welding operation, how we can provide the in same side actually, especially if it is in same side. For a sequence of welding operation, we can represent the welding symbol by two reference line, two or multiple reference line, or we can represent this welding symbol in a same line with symbol. How it is, that I am little bit explaining here. Let us, in a T joint, let us in a T joint, let us in a T joint, here first we have to do bar weld, after that let us we have to do fillet weld. Bar weld and fillet weld, let us here we have to do bar weld first, after that we have to do a fillet weld, this. So, what happens if it is in same side, generally this for this case generally we can use a welding symbol which have a single vertical line with two different operation. Like here generally bar welding is done in this side itself, arrow side itself, in this arrow side itself we did some fillet welding also. So, if this types of thing is there, generally there we can use these types of welding symbol. That means in a single vertical line we can provide 2-3 different whatever the number of operation is required to make, if it is in same side. If it is opposite side, then that cases generally we should use multiple reference line. Let us other side also we should do some, let us this side also we should do some welding operation. If we should do some welding operation in other side also, in that case generally we should use this multiple horizontal reference line. Okay. In this case generally this will not be applicable in this case. So, this all about today's lecture. Next class I will start on welding power sources. What are the history of different welding power sources, what are the different categories of welding power sources. We will see that what are the different advantages, what are the different drawbacks of different welding power sources in details in today's class, because in tomorrow's class. So tomorrow I will start on lecture, I will deliver a lecture on welding power sources.